bossed up, that's a fact, yo. And if you think I'm frontin', you can run it back, yo. Girl, run it back. You know that I run it. Everything you wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me. I got this one, that one. Damn, it's gonna be a long night.
Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of This, and I'm back here with another video. And today I am doing what if Luffy was Bond's reincarnation instead of what if Deku was a Technopath. Reason being, I don't know where to go from where I am right now, so I'm still working on it. Luckily for you though, I've already made like 6 parts to this series, which is pretty weird to say, but for once I'm actually ahead. It's just that I don't get the time to, you know, record and everything, but I'm doing it now, so let's get right into it. So we last started off with Luffy gaining his abilities from the past and slowly regaining his memories. He becomes stronger than ever and makes friends with Ace and Sabo, and the three then earn a reputation as the Terrible Three, taking over their area as Luffy actually killed Blue Jam and also a noble, and then later he killed a Celestial who sank Sabo's boat, leading to Sabo's death. I'm putting quotes around that. And Ace and Luffy slowly, you know, just hope that their brother's alive and start heading out to see themselves. Luffy goes last, meeting Kobe and saving him as he quickly takes care of Alvida, and he then meets Zoro, making him part of his crew and killing Morgan, a tyrant marine, and then he leaves, enabling, you know, Kobe to become a marine himself. He and Zoro then leave, being saluted by the Marines because Morgan was actually an abusive dick who took advantage of his power. And so yeah, Luffy and Zoro set off. As Luffy is rowing his boat, however, he and Zoro hear screams and look to see 3 people drowning not too far off. So Luffy gets close and lets them climb inside. Be more careful next time, he would say. Yeah, sure, now give us your boat. This is the territory of Buggy. Luffy and Zoro then look at each other laughing as they proceed to teach these pirates a lesson. And after they become submissive, the 3 would tell them who Buggy is, and as terrifying as they try to make him sound, Luffy just isn't interested. And this is when one of the goons tell the other 2 that this guy with the straw hat looks familiar. They would then ask if by coincidence he was Straw Hat Luffy, and Luffy said yes, scaring the shit out of them, and they bowed, apologizing even more for messing with them. Yeah, this is weird. This is pretty normal, you know, Zoro would say. Your name spread through almost everywhere. A lot of people were either trying to hunt you down or just scared of you. Luffy finds this very funny as he keeps, you know, just laughing while rowing like a psychopath, and soon they make it to land and the goons are allowed to leave. As they run off, Zoro would then ask if that was really a good idea, you know, letting them go. Just relax, let's go eat something. So they start walking out onto the town, and after docking their little ship, you know, they go out. But as they are walking onto the streets, in front of them they see a woman with red, orange hair being, you know, harassed and dragged away, and instantly Luffy attacks with a group of pirates, feeling a gust of wind just hit them, and they look to see their prisoner is gone, and then they see Luffy with Nami in his arms not too far off, like 5 feet away. She quickly then gets out of his arms and runs up a building, sitting on top of the roof and, you know, just trying to stay away from him. That was a weird way to say thank you, Luffy would say. Hey you, I hope you're ready to pay for what you just did. Luffy then turns around and then they recognize the Straw Hat and they get scared. No, it can't be here. Why would he be here? Yeah, unless... Are you here to start a war with our captain? Zoro then walks up past them saying, we don't care who your captain is, but since you mess with mine. He then starts unsheathing his sword, but Luffy says no. And, you know, says, let them go. This is getting interesting. Zoro hates this, but goons to leave, and this is when Nami lands down, saying that was pretty impressive, and tells Luffy they should work together. Sure, want to join my pirate crew? Nami would then get mad, saying that she hates pirates because, of course she does, they are despicable. How about I help you out, and then you decide whether I'm just another filthy pirate? Honestly, I don't think you should trust her, Zoro would say. And Nami then smirks, saying that she has some business to take care of, and says to wait here. She then comes back with a rope, and tells Luffy to follow her. Luffy then just tells him to go eat something and that he'll find Zoro later, and Zoro takes the pouch full of money and tells him to be careful. Luffy then says it'll be fine, as we then cut to him being actually tied up at the Buggy Pirate's hideout, and Nami is using him as a bargaining chip. Well, she's a crafty one, isn't she, Luffy would think. So this is the thief, Buggy would say. Alright, I like you, little girl, you can join my crew. And you're the thief who's been posing as Straw Hat, eh? Luffy does nothing but says, you know, yes, just smiling, and everyone laughs at him, and Buggy orders for him to be put in a Seastone prison. And when Luffy is put in this, he kind of finds it hilarious as he then watches the pirate crew have fun celebrating the return of their map that Nami in truth stole, not him. I can't wait till I get my crew together. You're still going on about that, Nami would say. Can't you see the situation you're in? And to act like you're actually Straw Hat Luffy? I mean, this stupid thing is, she then tries to go grab his hat when she sees her hand wrinkle, and in a panic, she pulls back, falling scared out of her mind. What was that? What did you just do? Luffy then says that if she values her life, she should stay clear of the hat, or he will kill her. Buggy then comes up and starts ridiculing Luffy and bragging about how big of a deal he is, and then he unveils the buggy ball, the cannon, aiming it at some houses in the town. However, this is when Luffy gets serious and gets out of his restraints and simply just stands up, breaking through the freaking sea stone, cage, shocking everyone. But it was made out of sea prism stone, Buggy would say. Luffy would then say, so you're the one Shanks was talking about. You really are a loudmouth, you know that? Don't play with me, you. Luffy then uses his Gum pistol to simply destroy the cannon, and after seeing his Gum ability, they are sure this is indeed Straw Hat Luffy. What should we do, Captain? Buggy then has sweat just drip down his cheek and yells, don't think I'll go down without a fight. His hand then separates from his arm and they grab knives and go at Luffy. However, he simply smacks him to the side and he appears right in front of Buggy, punching him in the face and slamming him down to the ground so hard that it creates a tornado that spreads out and pushes back everyone a bit. When the wind clears, Luffy is seen with his hand bloodied and Buggy seems dead, but Luffy reassures him he's alive. But that was a warning. Matter of fact, this is no longer his territory. This territory belongs to me, Straw Hat Luffy. Nami at this point would be scared out of her mind, as Luffy could have killed her whenever he wished to and almost did. Hey, look, I took it too far. I can still... She would then be cut off by Luffy, who simply walks past her, sending chills down her spine as he sits on Buggy's throne cross-legged. Well, what are you doing over there? I still want you on my crew, you know. Nami, being relieved, runs to Luffy's side in fear, and she stands straight, wondering why he still wants her in his crew. When he said he was going to fire that cannon, everyone was exhilarated, but not you. You're a good person, Nami, Luffy would think. So a few hours pass and Buggy wakes up to see Luffy in his chair and is scared, bowing as Luffy says that they have to talk a little bit. Luffy then kicks Buggy out of his territory, making it his, and he also takes part of his treasure. By the way, Shanks would be disappointed. He is frustrated, but Buggy shuts his mouth and tells his men to give part of his treasure to Luffy, and he promises to leave right away. But before that, Luffy said he had something he wanted to do. We then see Buggy, Luffy, Zoro, and Nami in the town square as all of Buggy's men gather up and, the people in the area. Buggy would then say that Luffy is the new ruler of this place and that they better listen to him, trying to, make the people fear Luffy. And this makes everyone scared since Luffy seems to have, just given up on trying to fight this pirate. He's completely submitted to him. However, this is when Luffy hits Buggy on the head, saying, don't scare them like that. Come on, everyone, let's kick out the Buggy pirates. He then grabs Buggy by the shirt and throws him in the direction of his ship, and he can no longer be seen because Luffy threw him way too hard. Who is this guy? The villagers would say. I don't know, but he's better than Buggy. Yeah, let's kick them out. The kid would then throw a rock at a pirate who gets mad, but then feels the bloodlust coming from Luffy and just runs away in fear. Everyone then just starts throwing the stones at the Buggy pirates, who were forced to leave in embarrassment, shame, and sadness. Zoro would then have just come back with some food and booze, and then the food that the pirates were hogging. And then that day in Orange Town, there will be a big ass party, like a huge festival, and this becomes Luffy's territory, like legit his territory. Not that he knows that. We then go to Marineford, where Garp will be sitting down and eating cookies in his office. Sengoku then opens his door and walks up to him. So, your little grandson started making his move. I told you it would happen. One of these days, you'll look tired or won't help you deny the fact that Straw Hat Luffy needs to be taken out. I know you know that. Garp would then laugh, saying that brat would probably kick his ass if he tried. Now back to Luffy. The next morning, Luffy, Nami, Zoro will be taking Nami's boat, and they left Orange Town with everyone waving goodbye to them. And Luffy promised that they would be safe, but he didn't know if this was actually guaranteed, as Luffy has already kind of been considered a Yonko level pirate in the Grand Line. So when people get a word of him making Orange Town his territory, they stay clear of it. And if you're a pirate and you're going there, if you hurt someone, you had this feeling that you were going to be killed, so they didn't mess with it. Now as for Luffy and the gang, taking Nami's much better boat, they find an island, meeting a man stuck in a treasure chest named Gaimon, who warns them about the Grand Line. And when they show him the map that Nami had to Grand Line, they kind of talk about it. He's still feeling a bit like they're gonna die because, well, the Grand Line ain't easy, even if Luffy is famous. So, yeah. Now, after visiting Gaimon, he also finds out that he's been guarding empty chests of treasure. But regardless, he decides to stay because of the animals, the weird animals on the island. He wants to protect them. And Luffy and his group leave, he's pretty content with himself. And Nami then leads them to the closest island near them, and when they dock, Nami points to where there should be a village ahead. And Luffy would then walk up saying, I know you kind of hit me right now. I notice it, obviously, but I really do want you to join my crew. Nami backs away a little bit in fear, saying, yeah, sure, let's just go. Zoro and Luffy then follow her, as this is when Zoro asks something he's been wanting to know for a while. By the way, I've always wanted to ask, why did you do it? That noble, then you says that you did it for fun or because you're crazy. Oh, that incident? Of course they would say that. That noble shot and killed my brother just because his boat was in his ship's way. That's so messed up, Nami would think. No wonder he became a pirate. So they keep walking for a while, and the group would meet Usopp, who said he had tons of men behind him, blah blah blah, he was a fear pirate. Of course this is fake, and he then strings up his slingshot, thinking that the crew was a danger to Syrup Village, and potentially Kaya, his main love interest, my boy out here getting that. And Luffy would then actually recognize him, saying, oh, you're Yasop's kid, right? This is perfect. Wait, you know my dad? We then cut to them sitting in a tavern as Usopp would buy them some food. And Luffy then told Usopp that he met his father a while back, and he never stopped telling how much he missed his son and how much he wanted to see Usopp again. After that, Luffy would then say, I'm gathering your crew right now and I want you to join it. And Usopp loves the idea, but he wants to be captain, which makes everyone kind of laugh because they know he was lying about having tons of men. He was the most cowardly person alive. He kind of sad, but he knows he can't be captain. But then he learns that they need a new ship, and so he says that there is one belonging to a rich girl who lives, in a nice mansion not too far off. He then explains her relationship with Kaya and says that she might be rich, yes, but she's pretty sad since her parents both died and she's really sick. She has a lot of things to deal with. So, will you join my crew though? I'd love to have you, Luffy would say. Usopp then takes a moment before asking if everything that they say about him is true and that he sent tons of marines packing and even killed tons of nobles. And Luffy says it's all true because they were honestly asking for it. Like legit, they actually tried to kill some of his friends and people he cared about, so he beat their asses. So he says that after Usopp hears this, he says he needs a bit more time deciding if he's gonna join or not, because he wants to be a warrior of the sea. Yeah, so he goes to Kaya and there, and he says that he'll be back. Meanwhile, Luffy and the others just eat, and soon they will meet Usopp's little group, the little kids, the orphans. I think they're orphans. Meanwhile, Usopp is with Kaya, telling her a lot of stories, and after a while talking to her, he sees the others arrive and asks what they're doing here. Hey, you're Kaya, right? If you give me a ship, I'll heal that sickness of yours. Everyone would be stunted to hear this, as Usopp says he shouldn't make a joke like that because this is like a serious illness. And one butler would then come around the corner saying he really shouldn't, pushing up his glasses with his giant ass hands. This is when Luffy turns around to face him, and when he does, the butler will be shocked. The butler, otherwise known as, Kuro, the captain of the Black Cats, would be shocked as he would think, why is he here? Do these idiots not know who he is? Now, while stuck in thought, Kuro would then be approached by Luffy, who surprises him while saying hi. So, can I try healing her? Luffy would ask. Kuro would be frozen in fear, unable to say anything back, and Usopp asks if he's joking or if he could actually do this. Yeah, I just need some time to myself, some water, and I'll take care of the rest. Now, though this sounds really, really scammy, Kaya wants to trust Luffy because she sees that Usopp clearly trusts him, and she would ask, can you really help me? And Luffy says absolutely. So, she agrees despite being a little bit, scared. So, because they don't trust him that much, they put guards around him, and when Luffy goes in, he's allowed to do whatever he wants to heal her, but he is watched by guards. Now a few minutes later, as Usopp and everyone is waiting, the two then see Kaya and Luffy step out. Did you actually do it? Usopp would yell. Kaya then runs to Usopp, hugging him, saying that Luffy had indeed cured her and she feels better than ever, like before. Since when were you a doctor? Nami will whisper. I'm not, it's a secret. So can I have the ship? Kaya then says definitely, he definitely can have the ship. Meanwhile, Kuro will be running back to his ship to escape. He was gonna steal Kaya's fortune, but no amount of money is worth going up against that monster, he would think. He then makes it to the ship and tells the hypnotizing guy, who is Django, and the other Black Cats that Straw Hat Luffy was here. What the hell is he doing here? Well, either way, let's just get the money and leave, right? He healed that girl and is at her house right now, Kuro would yell. Django would be confused as to why a pirate would heal a noble, and either way they realize they have to leave now. They have to leave right away. So Kuro gets on the ship and gets the sails running, and they start leaving and plan to never return. They just want to stay as far away from Luffy as they possibly can. Now, the government has already classified this little village as part of Luffy's territory, since once he gets to the Grand Line, they want to force him into being a warlord by showing him how many people he can protect if he took the position. So, Kaya gives the crew a new ship called the Going Merry, an adorable little ship, but a big one nonetheless, big enough to fit an entire crew. And Luffy would ask, so have you decided yet? They would then be at the shore facing the big ship as Usopp looks back at Kaya and his crew, asking if they don't mind if he leaves, and they say they will be happy for him as it is his dream. However, slowly but surely the kids, and Usopp's little gang start to cry as Usopp, with a sad, heavy heart, but happy heart, would disband the Usopp Pirates, telling the kids to pursue their ambitions no matter what. So Usopp gets help getting his stuff, and then he would proceed to board the ship as they leave, and he says bye to a sad Kaya, and her butler, who's actually named Mary, who designed the ship, would say, "Don't worry, my lady, he'll return one day." "I hope he does," Kaya would say. Now, a few days would pass as we find Usopp having finished making the symbol for their crew, which would be a skull with a straw hat. He goes down safely, and everyone looks at it saying it was perfect. And Luffy then tests Usopp with their new cannon, and he shows that he's actually quite a good sniper. He wasn't lying about that part. So that will be his job from now on. Luffy would then say, "I'll do the cooking and cleaning for now until we find our official cook. Naomi, you're in charge of our finances, and Zoro, since you're my first mate, you're gonna be my second in charge, my right-hand man." As they're talking about this, though, someone would climb onto their ship wielding a sword. This would be Johnny, as he would ask, "Who the hell do you think you are?" as they had unknowingly bumped into his little ship. Swinging his blade at Luffy, he finds that the attack lands, however, his weapon shatters, shocking him, as Luffy would then ask him who the hell he is, and as he looks up and sees Luffy's face, he'll be frozen in fear as he falls down. "Just my luck." Zoro would then make himself known, recognizing the man as Johnny, as an old friend, and Johnny would be shocked to see Zoro here. "What the hell are you doing here?" asks Zoro. Johnny then says that their friend Yosaku is sick, and he brings Yosaku onto the ship, and he tells everyone he has scurvy. By this point, everyone sees Luffy go inside and come out with a vial, which he then feeds to Yosaku, whose teeth start to regrow, and he's no longer bleeding. "What the?" Yosaku would say as he sits up. "Where are we, Johnny?" He then sees Luffy standing over him and jolts up, getting ready to fight, and Zoro would explain that Luffy just healed him and he had become a pirate, which shocked the two. So after being healed, the two officially introduced themselves, as Luffy would ask if they know about a good cook or like a good restaurant. "Didn't you say you could cook already?" Nami would say. "Yeah, but I mostly do it for fun." "You probably suck at it," Zoro would say. Luffy would then yell at him to take that back, and they get in a bit of a scuffle that Usopp has to break up and gets a few, bumps. Johnny, however, says he does know a place where he can find a cook. A restaurant on the seas. Time skip to when everyone arrives at the Baratier, the restaurant on the seas, and they're pretty hyped considering how the place looked. However, they then notice Marines approaching and think this is going to be annoying and that they should probably turn back. "Nah, forward. If they mess with us, we'll kill them. Kaya gave us some money right before we left, right? So let's just use some of it. I'll treat you guys too." He then points at Johnny and Yusaku, and they tell Zoro that his captain is awesome. This is when the Marine ship notices their ship, and the Marine Iron Fist Full Body says, "Who's your captain? Introduce yourself." Saying this because, well, Luffy isn't known to have a crew yet by everyone. And Luffy then walks up, putting his right leg on the ledge of his ship, introducing himself as he raises his hat, scaring Iron Fist, who stumbles back a bit. "Captain, what is it?" "Oh my god, it's Straw Hat Luffy." Iron Fist then tells his crew to fire. However, Luffy appears, punching Iron Fist and making him pass out. Everyone then tells him to watch out as a cannon is being aimed at him. However, it was too late as he will be fired at, but as the smoke clears, Luffy will be holding the cannonball, and then he crushes it as the rest of it falls into the sea. "I'll let you turn back now, or I can just decimate your entire crew. What do you say?" The Marines then nod, all like simultaneously surrendering, as Luffy jumps off the ship and lands on his own, and he waves back to them with a smile that just scares the shit out of them. Johnny would then ask, "What the hell is up with that monster strength?" Luffy then laughs as Usopp says that he'd rather actually not be captain anymore, making everyone else laugh. And of course, Iron Fist, his date will be on the ship, but she only found out about what happened later on, but they're not gonna stay. Anyway, the crew goes on the ship and sits at a table ordering a bunch of food. They will be approached by a man with blonde hair, and he lays down some food for everyone, while he also proceeds to fawn over Nami. Sanji would then say, "Hey, you pirate, the old man wanted to meet you." "Oh, yeah, sure," Luffy would say, as he then stands up, surprising Sanji, who finds out that this guy is actually taller than him. Regardless, he brings Luffy to the back, making everyone who was eating wonder who the hell he was. And so Luffy is brought to the head chef's room, and he sits down facing a one-legged man with a long chef's hat and braided handlebar mustache. What do I owe the pleasure, sir? Luffy would ask. Zeph would then say, I know about your Straw Hat, and between pirates, I would like it if you didn't cause any trouble. Trust me, I'm just here to find a new crew member. Would you happen to know a good cook? A new crew member, huh? Well, nothing is ever that easy. If you can manage to listen to and fulfill one of my requests, then maybe I might find something for you. He would then smile mischievously as we then cut back to the crew wondering where Luffy was, and they've been waiting for a while, when all of a sudden Luffy would make an entrance holding food for everyone, wearing a chef's hat. Did he make that? Thinks Sanji. Zeph then says that everyone gets a special treat today and that this food is for free, and Luffy lays down this food for everyone, who at first are a bit worried whether it tastes good because it's free, and if it's free it might just be because it sucks. Luffy made some curry, but it was quite different also. Zeph would be expecting the food to be average at best, but when everyone digs into it once, they will be amazed with the food, saying it was a 50 out of 10, which surprised the chefs, who would then come out to see this, and Sanji would spit out a cigarette, just completely baffled. I thought he was just a pirate obsessed with fighting. Who is this kid? Zeph would think. Everyone is devouring his food as if they were animals, and even his crewmates and Zoro's friends were doing the same. However, curry is just curry, and it doesn't last long, as everyone asks for seconds, being really hungry. However, this is when Luffy would see an injured and bloody man. He went back to the kitchen and brought out another plate of food, with everyone wanting it, but Luffy walks to the man, who no one even noticed collapsing, as he would then say, "Enjoy, man." The pirate would then be handed a fork, and he starts eating as his eyes fill with tears, and the nobles are mad about him giving food to some hoodlum. Zeph then says that's all that Luffy is cooking for today, and so Luffy just goes outside and, rests. He would then be met by Sanji, and they start talking, with Zeph smiling as, he was going to introduce Sanji to Luffy anyway. Sanji then says he wants to see the all blue, even if it's a foolish dream as they're talking, and Luffy would say, I've been telling people my entire life that I wanted to be the king of pirates, so that sounds just as crazy. I know what you mean. Sanji then laughs at this as he would then ask how Luffy became such a good cook, and Luffy says he's just good at it, stunting him because it sounds like Luffy didn't practice and was just a natural genius at it. The man who Luffy had fed would then say that if he wants to go to the Grand Line, he should be careful. I've heard of you and how strong you are. You're a Straw Hat Luffy, right? But the Grand Line is dangerous. I'll be fine, Luffy would say with a nonchalant look, and the man named Gin would then say that he's part of the Don Krieg pirates and says that he's probably going to come here soon, and he's really dangerous as he actually commands 50 ships and is feared. But Luffy shrugs this off, going back to eat with his crew. Meanwhile, Sanji will be talking with Zeph, who wants him to join Luffy. However, he wants to stay as head chef, and this is when Zeph had to use some tough love and said that he was not needed, which made him mad. For the next 2 days, Sanji wouldn't talk to Zeph anymore, and they would have a bit of a strained relationship, and the Straw Hats would just stay at the Baratier, and Luffy keeps cooking, getting to know Sanji more. They actually earned a bit of money while doing this, so Nami told them it was a good idea to stay. And this is when soon Don Krieg arrives. His ship is messed up, and Gin helps him up on the Baratier as he asks for food. And Luffy would cook, and then Sanji serves it, despite everyone saying they shouldn't, as all the customers actually ran out in fear. It was just panic everywhere. Just give up, Zoro would say. That idiot's gonna do whatever he wants. I'm not an idiot, Luffy would say. I just know what I'm doing. Don Krieg would then eat the delicious food, thanking Luffy before then standing up menacingly, saying, Nice restaurant. I'll take it. He then goes to punch Luffy, thinking he was just some weak cook, when Luffy catches his arm and lifts him up in the air like a child. Rude customers don't get extra. Who do you think you are? Don Krieg would say, as Luffy then introduces himself, making Krieg freeze up for a second before shooting at Luffy with his pistols, only for him to use his devil fruit and bounce it back at his face, and he barely dodges it, as Luffy grabs him by the shoulder and then just slams him down and forces him to his knees like he can't move anymore. Still wanna go? Don then swings with Luffy stepping back as he takes off his cloak, revealing his armor of gold and diamond fists as he punches at Luffy, but as he does, Luffy would headbutt the diamond fist, actually cracking it, shocking everyone. His head was messed up, but it worked, and then Don Krieg sees the wound heal up. Now, again, I know that saying stuff like, oh, maybe cracking your diamond with your a bare fist or your head is not that big of a deal. In the Grand Line, that is, but they're still not in the Grand Line, so this is really crazy. Luffy is superhuman, beyond superhuman. Anyway, Luffy would then say, let me guess, you can survive the Grand Line, right? Well, don't think you can come back here and act all tough then. Everyone would be shocked to hear that Don lost the Grand Line, but Gin confirms it, making Krieg mad as he tries to shoot him, but Luffy grabs his arm and armor of gold, crushing it as he also reaches his bone and cracks it. This makes him scream in anger and pain, and he keeps hitting Luffy so he can let him go. Everyone is just seeing this, impressed, as Luffy actually looked like he was a parent disciplining a child. Krieg would then be knocked out by Luffy, who then activates Gear 2nd, bursting with steam. He then walks outside and spears Krieg into his own ship, slightly decimating it. He then looks back again, saying, "No offense, and I mean this in a good way. No offense, and I don't mean to be rude," Luffy would say. No offense, I don't mean to be rude, but don't compare me to you. To me, the Grand Line is just another step to become the king of pirates. Silence would then fall as no one knew what to say, and Gin would simply get up, acknowledging, Luffy's goals, and he walks out of the restaurant. But as he was leaving, Zeph would then walk out with some provisions, saying, "Consider it a gift." Gin would be happy to hear this, and he takes the food and provisions, and he runs, and he makes it to his ship, and then, obviously the cooks protest, but Zeph doesn't give a damn, and he makes it to the ship and then leaves, thanking Zeph for being so kind, and he thanks Luffy for not killing him and his captain despite, Don Krieg being kind of a dick. Sanji would then walk up to Luffy saying he didn't need to talk down to him that way, and Luffy said he meant it not in a bad way, he just doesn't like being, underestimated. No one likes being underestimated. Zeph then steps out saying that they should go back to working, but before that, Sanji had to leave. "But I want to become the head chef." Other cooks then step out laughing and saying that Sanji should leave as he can be annoying and he sucks at cooking and everything he does just sucks. Of course, while saying this, Sanji, just by looking at them, can tell that they're crying their eyes out. They really want him to say, but they want him to follow his dream. And this was a tear-jerking moment for the Baratie as Sanji asked the crew if he can still join, and they say he definitely can. By this point, Krieg and his group would leave, as we then see Don on the ship being taken care of by Gin, and he would say, "When I heard it in the Grand Line, I didn't want to believe it. A bounty of 500 million, and not even an adult yet. What is up with this world?" So right now, Sanji will be able to bring all these things on the ship, and he got ready to leave with everyone waving goodbye to him, saying that he better finally all blue. And this is when Nami walks up to Luffy and taps him on the shoulder. "Hey, what's up? You really still want me to be part of your crew?" she would say, kind of scared, and Luffy nods as Nami says that if they help her with something, then she will most definitely join. Luffy then says he definitely can, help out whatever she wants them to help out with, and so they start setting sail to Nami's home with a new crew member, leaving behind the Baratie. A few hours would then pass, and then Mihawk shows up riding on a small little raft. "You there," Mihawk would yell. Zeph would then yell back, "What do you want?" Mihawk then stands up asking if Straw Hat Luffy had passed by here, and he is told that they left a few hours ago, and he believes Zeph, obviously, being saddened that he actually wanted to see Luffy's power up close and another person's power up close. "What does the world's strongest swordsman want with that small band of pirates?" "I heard that Monkey D. Luffy has a swordsman as his first mate." Zeph then understands completely what he means, and when people ask who this guy is, they are shocked to hear his true identity and the feats that he has done. So back to the Straw Hats, Luffy was turning the ship according to Nami's instructions, and Sanji would then ask, "So we're going to Nami's hometown?" "Yeah, but it's not a visit. We're going down on business. That son of a bitch is gonna pay." Now all the crewmates see the anger filling up Nami's face and are pretty interested in what happens next, but before that, Luffy was going to train everyone. Luffy helps Sanji, Usopp, Zoro, and Nami get better at their individual skills by having them fight while they're being drained of strength by him. This helps Zoro have a breakthrough with his swordsmanship, and the same goes for Usopp and Sanji. And as for Nami, she just generally gets better at brawling, dodging on all the basics, but her physical strength is tremendous, even if she cannot compare to the others. Luffy also explains his ability to his crewmates, which is definitely weird, but it's something that sparks Nami's interest when she hears that he could steal with perfection. Overall, the crew bonds as well, not just training. Sanji and Luffy communicate through cooking. Zoro does the same with him while fighting. Usopp and Luffy just tell each other crazy stories, and Nami gets to see Luffy's soft side just as much as his aggressive side. It would take about a week to get to Nami's hometown, mostly because they were goofing off and also training. And when they do arrive, the first thing they see is how desolate the town is. "There it is," Nami would say with an emotionless face that kind of freaks out everyone because they never seen her this kind of pissed but also kind of sad. This is when fishmen will crawl on their ship, but Sanji and Zoro beat them easily and take care of them, throwing them back to the sea. So, they get off the ship and land, but before they go to Arlong's place, Nami tries to resolve this without any fighting, and so she says she wants to go home to get something real quick. The crew just waits for her in the same spot as when Luffy said he wasn't gonna leave the island, said, "I'm gonna chill," when some fat fishman approaches them, telling them to hand over anything on them. "You really don't want to do this," says Zoro. "You're in fishman territory, idiots, so you better listen to me or..." The fishman would then be hit over 10 times by Usopp, who has some special bullets on him, but this wouldn't do much as, well, he's a fishman. So, in typical shonen fashion, the fishman would act like an idiot, "Oh, get out of here, you're not that strong," and he would then be hit over 10 times by Usopp, who had some special bullets on him, but this wouldn't do much though since he is a fishman, and Luffy tells everyone to let him handle this. He then taps the fishman on the shoulder, confusing him, when he feels a bunch of pressure all of a sudden just forced onto him, and he falls to his knees. He tries to stand up, but it doesn't work, as Luffy then proceeds to ask him some questions. "What's the relationship between Nami and your leader?" "You think I'm gonna tell you anything?" He then tries to take Luffy's hand off, but Luffy grabs it and crushes his shoulder, and he gets scared, actually telling them the truth. This would stun everyone to hear, what he said. He proceeds to tell the Straw Hats about how Nami was used to draw maps for Arlong, has no say in it, and she was basically Arlong's slave and still is. Just as he says this, Nami would have found her home ravaged and ruined as she checks and sees her hidden treasure was stolen. Her sister then gets, home and sees Nami crying on the ground. However, as she tries to help Nami, she looks up and runs away and out of the house, pissed and heartbroken. We then go back to the crew as Zoro had cut off the fishman's head, and Sanji would say that bastard needs to pay for what he's done. "You guys go on ahead, I'll meet up with Nami. You better teach him a lesson, you hear?" He then runs to find Nami, and the group splits up. Quickly, Luffy would find Nami crying as she bumps into him and almost falls, but Luffy catches her. Luffy would then ask what's wrong, but she only keeps crying and tells Luffy that, to let her go. And as Luffy does, she holds onto her arm, just kind of holding it tight, and Luffy sees that she is branded with what looks like the face of a fishman. Just how deep does this go? He then gets surprised when Nami takes out a knife from her pocket and starts to stab herself and her mark, and keeps stabbing no matter what he says. After a while now of Nami just crying and stabbing herself, Luffy stops her, and then she would ask for help. Luffy would then put his hat on her head as he kneels down, seeing how messed up her shoulder was now. Biting his lip, he then starts to bleed and actually kisses Nami on the mouth, inserting some of his blood into her body and thus healing her. She would be surprised by this and blush, pushing Luffy away, only to then realize that her wounds had healed and the branding was gone. What did you... Luffy would then stand up saying, "Keep my hat safe for me. I'll be back. Trust me. He's gonna pay." He then starts to walk to Arlong Park, just as the villagers arrive on the scene, and they see Nami on the ground, and for the first time facing her family in so long, she didn't know what to say, but she definitely felt safer. So after a few minutes later, Sanji, Zoro, and Usopp will be in battle with Arlong, who was still outclassing them. Arlong manages to grab Usopp and gets ready to stab him with his pointy and sharp nose, but then Luffy arrives on the scene, grabbing his nose. His nose would then be bent back, shocking him, as Luffy then rips it off and grabs him by the neck, making him release Usopp. "My nose, you're human, how dare you!" Overwhelming bloodlust then comes out of Luffy as he releases his conqueror spirit for the first time, making Arlong shut his trap as he's unable to move, but Luffy doesn't even care as he only increases the bloodlust even more to the point where it becomes visible, turning into sparks of red lightning, and Arlong at this point is suffocating. I understand what it's like to be trampled on and to be hated just for existing. He then remembers being on the streets in his past life, and then would say, "But that doesn't give you the right to ruin a human's life for your enjoyment." He would then crush Arlong's windpipe, killing him instantly, and he drops to the ground, lifeless. The villagers then arrive to see all the fishermen massacred and cheer for the Straw Hats as Luffy then turns around and he is hugged by Nami, and Sanji gets a bit jealous. By this point, the Marines who stole Nami's things would be leaving, as of course they know that Straw Hat Luffy is here, and this incident will lead to the increase of Luffy's bounty by a lot, and he was now worth 1.5 billion, since he's making every pirate his bitch and leaving them either dead or injured, and is taking their territory. Of course, this makes Nami's hometown Luffy's territory, or most of the Straw Hat's territory, and unfortunately, Nami will not be able to get her treasure back, but she doesn't mind reclaiming it with her new crew. Everyone then gathers at Arlong's place and help the Straw Hats destroy it, and they have a bit of fun before Nami robs everyone blind and leaves to join the Straw Hats, now feeling a bit of a crush on Luffy because, I mean, why wouldn't she? She then also gets a new tattoo before leaving, and then it's back to the sea. So the next few days would actually be pretty chill, with Luffy and Zoro fighting currently at their current time right now, and Sanji would be cooking. Meanwhile, Usopp was making special chemicals and new bullets because he felt really helpless in the fight against Arlong. Nami then notices a carrier bird giving out newspapers, and she pays for one as she then reads the word Shanks, which catch the attention of Luffy, who then stops fighting. Nami would then ask, "Do you know him, Luffy?" "Yeah, he gave me my hat. I wonder if we got my present." The crew was kind of surprised that he knew a great pirate like that, but also it's Luffy, so what do you expect? Luffy then asks for the paper, and when he read it, it says Shanks is stronger than ever as he has regained his arm. Luffy smiles at this, and because when Ace left, he actually gave him a vial to give to Shanks to pay him back and say thank you for inspiring him and saving him that certain day. Nami then takes the paper back, noticing something peculiar on the back of it, as she would then say, to the shock of everyone, that Luffy's bounty has risen to 1.5 billion. And Zoro has also gained a bounty of 100 million. Really? Zoro would ask, surprised. The crew is then pretty happy since, Nami said that the name of the Straw Hats is also being spread to every corner of the world. But Usopp is scared as fuck, as is Nami a little bit, because, I mean, you don't want all that extra attention. Yeah, either way, that news reaches Garp and Smoker, who would be dead set on hunting Luffy, just like in the original. Zoro then says that he sees an island up ahead, and Nami says that place is called Locktown. That island is proof that we're reaching the Grand Line. It's the place, Luffy then cuts her off, where the King of Pirates died. Luffy then says they need to go there immediately, and thus he steers his way to Locktown and they head to the island. And as soon as they get there, everyone goes their separate ways. Luffy is going to the execution stand, Sanji will buy some food and ingredients, Zoro wants a new sword, and Nami just looks for expensive things and also lends Zoro some money. Now as Luffy is walking around, he looks at his hand, and we flash back to everyone on the crew asking what that lightning and pressure was, because they almost couldn't breathe because of it. Back in present time, Luffy then clenches his fist, thinking that maybe this has to do with the fact that he has magic power and has such good control of it. But he puts this in the back of his head right now, and when he makes it to the stand, he marvels at the stand, imagining Roger on it. Unfortunately, I can't die, so that's never gonna happen, he would think. Now by this point, people are already starting to realize who Luffy is because of the straw hat, and are kind of scared. He is then approached by a beautiful woman who is holding a strange mallet. Alvida? She then blushes at the fact that, Luffy recognizes her, and this is when Alvida says that she's been working with Buggy, and even though she likes him, he needs to go down. Buggy then shows himself, only to then realize Luffy is ignoring him as he is already up on the stand, and he then senses someone. But he only smiles. He lets, nature take course, and he just lets himself be captured by a sea stove prism, like, the thing where they put your head through. If you know what that is, put it down in the comments. I can't believe I forgot that just now. Buggy will be, still not understand. He would say, Buggy would then yell, "Good work. Now it's time for Monkey D. Luffy's public execution." Now news of Luffy being captured spreads to Shanks, Smoker, and his crewmates as they run as fast as they can to reach him, and Buggy then goes up to the stand to taunt Luffy, only to then see him smiling at all the trouble that's being caused because people now know that the pirates are here, so they're trying to get away. But Luffy only says, "It's beautiful, isn't it? What the hell is up with you? You're being executed." However, Luffy just keeps laughing, and Buggy gets off the stand as he then lets one of his men come up with the sea stone prism sword. Any last words? By this point, everyone would gather up in the area, including his crew, as he then yells, "I'm gonna be king of the pirates." This would shock everyone to hear these words, and his crew would then have just arrived on the scene. Quickly, they rush through the crowd and fight Buggy's pirates to reach him, but it was too late, as Luffy's neck will be struck while he's smiling, and his head rolls, devastating the Straw Hats and shocking everyone. Finally, that nuisance is gone. So long, Straw Hat. What the? Buggy would say. Everyone would then have their eyes widen as Luffy's body would just stand up on its own, and his head then slowly reforms until it's back to normal. Whew. So that's how Roger felt. What the hell? The entire crowd would say, as they would be completely baffled, and even Shanks, who was in the crowd, would be baffled, as Luffy then grabbed the sea stone prism sword and just crushes it. So long, Buggy. He then goes gear second, blowing back everyone a bit as he then jumps from the stand, crushing it. And this is when the lightning would strike in the exact spot where he was, and it starts to rain. "Guys, make a run for it," Luffy would yell while smiling like crazy. All the Straw Hats are definitely stunted, but they focus on escaping as Luffy jumps from rooftop to rooftop, leaving the area. Smoker then chases him, and he does so as with his assistant like follows him, you know, Tashigi, I think that's her name. I don't remember her name. But everyone else is just too shocked at what happened. Is he immortal or something? Maybe he really will become the Pirate King. He said something about Roger. Did he let himself be executed just to see how it was? These pirates are crazy. Shang Tzu being in the background is just smiling like freaking crazy as he didn't know what to say, and Dragon, who was there, could not be more proud of his son. Other Marines would then be going after the rejoined Straw Hats as Luffy would be in front leading their escape now, and Sanji would then ask, "Luffy, what the fuck was that?" "Sorry, I was planning on telling you guys at some point." Straw Hats. Smoker would then be behind the entire crew, you know, and they're with the other Marines and they're chasing after the Straw Hats. Lightning would then strike, but in a different way as Luffy stops running and he just releases all of his magic, creating red lightning to pulse out, and he uses Conqueror's Haki, making Smoker and all the Marines just pass out as they fall to the ground with their eyes rolling up into their sockets. Zoro then runs away, seeing a girl that he met when he got his new sword, and feels a bit bad as she loses consciousness as well. Luffy then resumes running as they make it to their ship and escape Logtown on the raging seas. So on their way to make an escape, soon they realize that the storm has disappeared, but then it alarms Nami, who says that they have entered the calm belt. I think that's what it's called. What? Is that such a bad thing? Luffy would ask. Their ship would then be scooped up, and they find themselves on the nose of a giant Sea King, and now they understand what Nami meant. But then even more Sea Kings come out, and the Sea King that they're on top of sneezes, and he puts them right back in the ocean. This is when they would see a mountain, which they need to pass over to reach the Grand Line. This is Reverse Mountain. However, as they're climbing it, Usopp says he broke the rudder, and so they can't steer that way anymore, and almost crash. But then Luffy makes his arm huge and stops them. The crew then reaches the top of the mountain and starts to fall down, like, you know, the giant stream, and enter the Grand Line. Now, while sliding down the mountain, though, they would see a huge mountain up ahead, but it was black. And then they realized this wasn't a mountain at all. It was a gigantic animal. They are really close to hitting this animal and want to avoid it at all costs, so Luffy uses his giant hand to hit the whale so they can stop, and it works. But this aggravates what they would find out, you know, right now is the whale, as its eye looks at them in an ominous way. The whale then eats up the ship, but Luffy manages to escape, as he would then stand on top of it, yelling, "Give them back!" However, the whale does not listen and dives down into the ocean, and this is when Luffy will find a hatch, and he swims down with the whale and enters it, and heads inside the whale, which is a pretty weird sentence to say. This is when soon Luffy will meet Miss Wednesday and Nine, you know, and everything starts to shake. They then tumble down the path, you know, that's inside the whale, and soon find an opening where they would come to a wide ocean, which is weird because they're inside a whale. This is when Miss Wednesday and Nine shoot at the walls, but the old man would get in their way of the shots, and Luffy then knocks the two out and puts them on the Going Merry. Luffy then meets his crew again, and the old man then helps the crew leave, and when they let Miss Wednesday and Nine go, they tell the old man they're gonna be back and leave. You know, they jump and, you know, run away because they're cowards. And then the old man tells the crew the tale of Lubu, which is that he had a crew before. He used to hang with a bunch of pirates, and they're probably dead as they haven't been heard of since they left, you know, and went into the Grand Line. All of a sudden, as the man is, you know, reciting the story, Luffy walks up to Lubu as he's banging his head against the Grand Line, and he would yell, "Stop!" He activates Conqueror's Haki, making Lubu stop, shocking everyone, as Luffy would then smile, saying, "I'm pretty good, aren't I?" He then puffs up his hand, making it bigger than the whale itself, saying that if he got hit by one of these punches, he's definitely going down. But for now, let's just stop. When I finish mapping out the Grand Line with my friends, I'll come back for you. That's a promise. The whale then starts to cry as Luffy jumps on top of it, and he bites off like a bit of his arm, leaking a shit ton of blood, and he just leaks it on the wounds of Lubu, who starts to get healed right away. His arm then regrows, impressing the old man, as Luffy says that now he better get, you know, he better not get hurt until they come back. So him and Lubu make this promise, and then he jumps down, and Lubu goes back to the ocean, being really happy, you know, having some hope. The old man then thanks Luffy, and Sanji makes some food for the crew while they, you know, wait, and Nami, you know, deals with the compass because they're now in the Grand Line. But then they find out their compass is going crazy. The man then says that they need a log post, and Luffy brings out one, saying he stole it from one of the two weirdos, and Nami then kisses him on the cheek, taking the log post, making Sanji attack Luffy because he's jealous. Now while they're playing around, everyone then sees the two weirdos come back up, and they ask for a ride because of course they would. Luffy lets them come as he finds them interesting and wants to see where this goes. So they leave the old man, who then thinks Luffy definitely just used Haki. He's just like Roger. The Straw Hats would then move forward for a few days, encountering climates like winter and other crazy shit, and soon they would reach the home of the new passengers, and Luffy would be in front of the ship looking over to see a giant cacti, and Wednesday and 9 all of a sudden just disappear, running on water and leaving to enter their home, which is pretty suspicious. I guess we made it to their home. Now, passing through the fog that would, encircle the island, they would arrive at Whiskey Peak, and then they see the entire town, and people are just cheering for them for some reason as they're entering, and they take in all that unearned glory, and Luffy puts up a front telling everyone to be on their guard. He's like, keep smiling, but these niggas are up to something. So soon they dock and are welcomed by Igaram, in disguise, which is a weird name, and he invites them to a banquet. We then skip to when everyone is eating and having fun. Luffy would outdrink everyone, even Nami, with ease, and wouldn't stop because he's unaffected. I mean, he's immortal. Meanwhile, Sanji is flirting and actually getting some, attention back, which he didn't find suspicious at all. Usopp is recounting stories and girls are fawning over him. Again, he still thinks that that's real. He doesn't, question it at all. Now, after this party is over, everyone will be sound asleep when Igarappua, who in fact is Mr. 8, who is in fact Igaram, which is pretty confusing, would meet up with his other accomplices, Miss Monday, Miss Wednesday, and Mr. 9. Yeah, I think that's about all of them. And the other guys who were fooling the Straw Hats would also be there. Miss Monday, who was the buff chick, would then say, "Why did we have to be all buddy? We could have just killed them." Mr. 8, however, would have a haunting look as he was scared out of his mind. "If we laid a hand on any of them, we would have died." He then brings up a poster of Luffy showing his bounty, making everyone's jaws drop. 1.5 billion? We're so dead. Mr. 8 would then say, "No, we're still fine. He's still just a naive newcomer. He probably doesn't what?" He then looks up to see Luffy sitting on the rooftop of the party house, and he jumps down. Mind finishing your words? All of a sudden, however, Luffy was surrounded by everyone who was at the party, and they have guns and weapons out. However, Luffy clearly sees that they are no match for him, and they're actually shaking in their boots. Mr. 8 then tells everyone who he is, and they have their mouths just wide open, and some of them actually run off, but then he will be shot by bullets as Luffy uses his devil fruit, catching all the bullets and returning back to the attackers, the ones who shot them. Going up against everyone in the zone, he would then be focusing on releasing his magic, or at least the feeling of releasing, magic, and someone comes up from behind him with a sword, and he turns around blocking it as his arm turns black. He would then see the man be sent flying just from that hit. Like, it's like he how can I say? It's like he was deflected by the hockey on his arm, and it would just turn back to normal, and he would say, "Whoa, this is pretty interesting." This is when Zoro walks out of the house saying, "Come on, Luffy, don't hog all the fun for yourself." What was that just now? It's the same as back then, he would then think. Luffy then says, "Sorry, I knew there was just something fishy about these people." The two would then take down all the goons, and then the only ones who will be left will be the main group, but they're scared right now, and regardless, they fight and use all their attacks, but nothing works. So the two would take down all the goons, and then there would only be the main group standing, but they're scared right now. Regardless, they fight and use all their attacks, but nothing works on Luffy because he's already OP, and he has Haki now, and then Zoro has his skills increased tenfold since he's joined Luffy, so that's kind of a bad deal. Who are these people anyway, Zoro would ask. They're failures. Luffy and Zoro then look up to see Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine, and this is when it is discovered that Mr. 8 and Miss Wednesday are only traitors who have infiltrated Baroque Works, and Mr. 8 goes on the attack using his hair curls to shoot out big bullets, but it's no use as Miss Valentine blocks it with her umbrella and jumps at Miss Wednesday. "There's nowhere to go, princess." However, Miss Valentine would then be kicked away from Miss Wednesday, who is in fact the Princess of Alabasta, Vivi, and Luffy then lands looking at the other agents and uses Conqueror's Haki to make them kneel to the ground. "What do you think, I'm invisible or something?" Luffy then acts as if he's throwing something and uses Snatch as he steals the, that guy, I forgot his name already, Jesus, just how... They're so memorable. Mr. 5, yeah, that's what it is. He steals Mr. 5's heart, making him spit out blood as he then just falls over, and Luffy would crush his heart. And for Miss Valentine, he simply crushes her head. Pretty brutal, I know, but Bond is not easy. Like, he takes care of his enemies. Zoro would then sheath the sword, saying, "Now that's dealt with. Mind explaining what's going on here?" Now, what is Baroque Works? I'm sure you already know, but still I gotta ask the question because this is the end of the video. And how will Luffy deal with this issue this time? Find out in the upcoming parts. It's been me, Prince of What Is, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Now, I usually don't really talk at the end of videos anymore because I find it that there's really no point in it, because I just want you guys to listen to the video and, you know, have fun. But I gotta explain why I've been gone for so long, and it's because I've been having some troubles recording, obviously. But I'm gonna try to get back into the game, and also ask for whatever Deku was a Technopath. I'm working on it, but then I've just realized that everything that I might do, I've already done in What If Deku could edit quirks, because that Deku mostly focused on, and you know, technological advancement. So I don't know what I can do with that, because they're basically the same person, except that, you know, that this Deku doesn't have inhumane super strength like the other one. It's just a lot of work. And also ask for what if, you know, Shinra was a dragon. I still don't know how to end that. I might have to actually cancel it. Tell me down below if you guys want me to cancel it. You know, I'm gonna try to do my best. If I don't feel comfortable with continuing it, I'm not gonna continue it. But don't worry, I have a bunch of other what ifs like I've been working on during the time that I couldn't post. I have what if Tanjiro had limitless breathing. Yes, that's from Gojo, you know, from, you know, Jujutsu Kaisen. I've been working on a lot of stuff because I was bored. So I have options. So tell me your honest thoughts. Now, this is where I'm going to end the video, obviously. You know, take care, stay safe, do your homework, because it's school for most of us. And yeah, bye.